Unit 1 Prose Two Gentlemen of Verona, written by A.J. Cronin. My dear students, today we are going to see a very interesting prose written by A.J. Cronin. His full name is Archibald Joseph Cronin. Let us see about the author at the end. Dear students, it would be a very good discussion now at present if we go for who is a gentleman. Man, everybody knows. What is to be gentle? Do you have any idea? If you have any idea, just make a note of it. Let me tell you what dictionary says about being gentle. Gentle meaning, first meaning, belonging to a family of high station. And another meaning says being an honorable person or a distinguished person. Another meaning says gentle means a person free from harshness, free from violence. Another meaning says being gentle is being a soft person. Now, what would I say about being gentle? From my point of view, if you are a gentle person, why gentle person? I am not using gentleman. Instead, I am using gentle person because there are a lot of gentle women also in the world. That is why purposefully I am using gentle person. If you are a gentle person, this is what I would say. You treat others in the way as you want others to treat yourself. I repeat, if you are a gentle person, if you are gentle, you treat others in the way as you want others to treat yourself. You want others to respect you, so you respect others. You are a gentle. You want others to love you, so you love others. You are a gentle person. You want others to appreciate you, so you appreciate others. You are gentle. You want others to understand you, so you understand others. You are gentle. You want others not to hurt you, so you don't hurt others. Now you are gentle. Now, my dear students, you can think of your own ideas of being gentle. Come on, think what is to be gentle according to you. Two Gentlemen of Verona. Have you ever heard of this title anywhere? No. But I have heard of it. It is actually the first comedy play or drama written by Shakespeare in the 16th century, namely 1589 and 1593. Actually, the main theme of the play is friendship and disloyalty, or you call it infidelity. Actually, the story goes like this. In Verona, there are two friends, namely Valentine and Proteus. Valentine goes to Milan. He requests his friend Proteus to accompany him, but his friend refuses because of his love for Julia in Verona. The father of Proteus comes to know of it and sends Proteus also to Milan, where his friend Valentine already is. Meanwhile, Proteus and Julia go for the exchange of rings during the farewell. Proteus sees his friend in Val sees his friend Valentine in the Milan. There, Valentine is in love with Sylvia. Valentine takes his friend Proteus and introduces him to Sylvia. Now, the cunning mind of Proteus is in work. Proteus wants to love Sylvia also, in spite of having a girlfriend in Verona. He wants to get her somehow or other. So now what he does is, when Valentine and Sylvia plan to elope at a particular night, his friend Proteus goes and informs the father of Sylvia. Now the father gets angry and sends Valentine away from the country. Now Julia from Verona came to Milan in the disguise of a man with the name Sebastian. Proteus and Sebastian become friends. And you see, Proteus sends a love letter and a ring to Sylvia through Sebastian herself. Remember, through Sebastian herself. Sebastian here is actually Julia in disguise of him. Sylvia did not accept his proposal, saying that he cheated and betrayed his own friend Valentine. Now Sylvia goes to a forest in looking for his lover Valentine. The father of Sylvia, Proteus, Sebastian also went in search of Sylvia. In the forest, all of them were caught by some gang of thieves. The leader of the gang here is Valentine. Valentine orders to free all of them. He became the leader of the particular gang out of a threat of being killed by the gang. The father of Sylvia accepts the love of Valentine for Sylvia. Now Sebastian removes her disguise and stands as Julia. Proteus asks for forgiveness from Julia, and Valentine joins Sylvia. Proteus joins Valentine joins Sylvia. Proteus joins Julia. With the happiness, the story ends. I just don't know why Shakespeare named the play as Two Gentlemen, while there is only one gentleman, namely Valentine, in the play, and also it's supposed to be two gentle women in the story. My dear students, I have given you the hints of the play Two Gentlemen of Verona, written by Shakespeare. You can go through it slowly if you are interested. My dear students, let me read the passage and explain. Here is a story about love, devotion, sacrifice, sincerity, and maturity displayed by two little boys in their actions to save the life of their sister who suffers from tuberculosis of the spine. Let us read the story to find out how their actions give a new hope or humanity. My dear students, this is a story of two little boys in Verona just after the Second World War. You know, nowadays the virus called Corona has made almost the whole world a chaotic situation. a confusion, a vexation. Nobody knows what to do. Everybody is in utter confusion. People have no work to earn. Almost the same situation was prevalent or would be prevalent during the war. Just like the impact of corona would live another few more decades, the world wars also let the people suffer and suffer and suffer. Now, this particular story takes place just after the Second World War. In the Second World War, we cannot forget and forgive two personalities, namely Hitler of German of Nazism, Mussolini of Italy for fascism. Verona belonged to Italy. Let us not go deep into the war events, though it's very interesting. The theme of this story is, though the war had made many people think about life to be utter meaningless, hopeless, valueless, here are the two boys who lead their life with full of hope, with full of values, with full of modesty. In this paragraph, displayed means exposed. Come on, students, let us start the story. As we drove through the foothills of the Alps, two small boys stopped us on the outskirts of Verona. They were selling wild strawberries. Don't buy, warned Luigi, our cautious driver. You will get much better fruit in Verona. Besides, these boys. He shrugged his shoulders to convey his disapproval of their shabby appearance. One boy had on a worn jersey and cut-off hockey pants. The other a shortened army tunic gathered in a loose folds about his skinny frame. Yet, gazing at their two little figures with their brown skins, tangled hair, and dark, earnest eyes, we felt ourselves strangely attracted. My companion spoke to the boys and discovered that they were brothers. Nicola, the elder, was 13 years old. Jacoba, who barely came up to the door handle of the car, was nearly 12. We bought their biggest basket and then set off toward town. This particular passage says, the narrator, along with his friends, goes to Verona for a tour. On the way, at the entrance of the city, people are selling a lot of things, as you would have seen while traveling in the bus or train. Suppose you go to Trichy, on the way at Manapare, the murukus, that is the twisted snacks, are sold inside the bus hawking. In the same way, two boys sell their strawberries. In spite of the warning of the driver Luigi, the narrator buys the biggest basket. The appearance of the boys are described in this passage. The words that you should understand or you need to understand is given next. There are some words we should understand clearly in this passage. Foothills Alps, the hills that is at the foot of the Alps mountain. Outskirts, the remote from the center, the remote area. Strawberries, it is a kind of fruit. Cautious, being very careful or warning. Shrugged, you raise your shoulder to show the indifference or disapproval. Shabby, very ugly or inferior in quality. Worn out, worn, diminished or faded quality. The present form of worn is wear, wore, worn. Army tunic, it is a kind of dress worn from shoulder to the knee. Loose folds, loosely laid one above the other. What is the skinny frame? It is like resembling a skin or very thin. Gazing, looking at. Tangled hair, complicated hair. Barely, meaning almost or just or narrowly. Set off to start out on a journey. Next morning, coming out of our hotel, we saw our friends bend to our shoe shine boxes beside the fountain in the public square, doing brisk business. Brisk meaning very active. A public square is a very fountain is a very famous place. So when they come out of the hotel, when the narrator came out of the hotel, these people were shining these shoes. We watched for a few minutes. We waited. Then as strayed, slackened means reduced, we went over. They greeted us with friendly faces. They wished the narrator with friendly faces. I thought you picked fruit for a living, I said. We do many things, sir, Nicola answered seriously. He glanced at us hopefully. Often we show visitors through the town to Juliet's tomb and other places of interest. All right, I smiled. You take us along. As we made the rounds, my interest was again provoked by their remarkable demeanor. They were childish enough and in many ways quite artless. Jacoba was lively as a squirrel. Nicola's smile was steady and engaging. Yet in both these boys' faces there was a seriousness which was far beyond their years. In the week which followed, we saw them very frequently, for they proved extremely useful to us. If we wanted a pack of American cigarettes or seats for the opera here means drama, or the name of good restaurants, Nicola and Jacoba were useful to them. Here, my dear students, in this passage, how these small boys were useful to the narrators and their friends is explained, and how very often they met together is explained. In this passage, my dear students, demeanor means manners and behavior. Artless meaning innocent. Opera means drama or a kind of music show. Restaurant. This word is a two-syllabic word, not three-syllabic word, because its pronunciation is restaurant. We generally pronounce it as restaurant, which is wrong. both the little boys could be relied upon to satisfy the needs of the authors. What struck one most was their willingness to work. During these summer days, under the hot sun, they shined shoes, sold fruit. Under the hot sun, they shined shoes, sold fruit, hawked newspapers, conducted tourists round the town, and ran errands. Here, hawked meaning you sell a product by shouting, and ran errands. Errands meaning you take people for journey. One night we came upon them in the windy and deserted square, resting on the stone pavement beneath the light. Nicola sat upright, tired, and a bundle of unsold newspapers lay at his feet. Jacoba, his head resting upon his brother's shoulder, was asleep. It was nearly midnight. Why are you out so late, Nicola? Waiting for the last bus from Padua. We shall sell all our papers when it comes in. My dear students, in this passage, how these little boys were useful to the narrators and his companions is explained, and the hard work of the little boys are explained. In this passage, my dear students, the curiosity of the author is revealed. The curiosity, why these little boys are working very hard, what is the need, all those things is revealed here. Come, let us read. Must you work so hard? You both look rather tired. We are not complaining, sir, they said. But the next morning, when I went over to the fountain to have my shoes shined, I said, Nicola, the way you and Jacoba work, you must earn quite a bit. You spend nothing on clothes. You eat little enough, or when I see you, you have a meal. It's usually black bread and figs. Tell me, what do you do with your money? He colored deeply under his sunburn and then grew pale. He looked to the ground. You must be saving up to emigrate to America, I suggested. He looked at me sideways, spoke with an effort. Come on. The next passage goes like this. We should greatly like to go to the States, but here at present we have other plans. What plans? He smiled uncomfortably. Just plans, sir, he answered in a low voice. Well, I said, we are leaving on Monday. Is there anything I can do for you before we go? Nicola shook his head, but suddenly Jacoba said, Sir, he burst out. Every Sunday we make a visit to the country, to Polito, 30 kilometers from here. Usually we hire bicycles. But tomorrow, since you are so kind, you might send us in your car. I had already told Liu he might have the Sunday off. However, I answered, I will drive you out of myself. I will drive you out myself. There was a pause. Nicola was glaring at his younger brother in vexation. We could not think of troubling sir, he said. My dear students, here in this passage, the helping attitude of the narrator is revealed. You see, narrator has a plan to leave the city the coming Monday. So he is asking these little boys whether they need any help. The elder brother, Nicola, shook head to say no. But Jacoba burst out, all of a sudden said that whether he could help them sending the car to take them to Polito as they used to go every week. And the author joyfully, with pleasure, accepted their plea. My dear students, listen. It won't be any trouble. He bit his lip, then in a rather put out tone he said, very well. The following afternoon, we drove to the tiny village set high upon the hillside. I imagined that our destination would be some humble dwellings. But directed by Jacoba, we drew up to a large red-roofed villa surrounded by a high stone wall. I could scarcely believe my eyes, and before I could recover breath, my two passengers had leapt from the car. We shall not be long, sir. Perhaps only an hour. Maybe you would like to go to the cafe in the village for a drink. They disappeared beyond the corner of the wall. After a few minutes, I followed. I found a grilled side entrance and determinedly rang the bell. Here in this passage, my dear students, the journey of these two young boys is prescribed. Then the imagination of the narrator was that these people would be living in a humble dwelling. But the contrast is happening here. Thirdly, the narrator follows these little boys in a secret way. So let us see what happens in the next passage. My dear students, in the last stanza, leapt, L-E-A-P-E-D, leapt meaning jumped. And you saw humble dwelling. Humble dwelling meaning a small living room. Scarcely meaning very hardly. And let us read the next passage. A pleasant look, after ringing the bell, a pleasant looking woman with a steel rimmed spectacles appeared. I blinked as I saw that she was dressed in the white uniform of a trained nurse. I just brought two small boys here. The narrator said, ah yes. Her face lit up. She opened the door to admit me. Nicola and Jacoba, I will take you up. She led me through a cool, tiled vestibule into the hospital. For hospital, the villa had become. For hospital, the villa had become. At the door of a little cubicle The nurse paused, put her finger to her lips with a smile, bade me look through the glass partition. The two boys were seated at the bedside of a girl of about 20 who, propped up on pillows, wearing a pretty lace jacket, was listening to their chatter, her eyes soft and tender. One could see at a glance her resemblance to her brothers. A vase of wild flowers stood there. Here, in this passage, my dear students, the meeting of the boys and their sister takes place. It was shown by the nurse to the narrator. My dear students, in the previous paragraph, there are some few words that may look strange to you. Let me give you the meaning of it. For example, the word vestibule, it is a kind of entrance room, and cubicle, it's separated from a large room. Partition, it's a parting. And propped up meaning, you lean on the wall. You lean or you lay against something. Chatter, to talk continuously. My dear students, in this passage, the background, the history of those two little boys is revealed. So that flower vase stood on her table beside a dish of fruit and several books. Won't you go in? The nurse murmured. Murmured meaning said very slowly. Lucia will be pleased to see you, the nurse said. I shook my head and turned away. I said no. I felt I could not bear to intrude, here intrude meaning disturb, intrude upon this happy family party. But at the foot of the staircase, I drew up and begged her to tell me all she knew about these boys. Secretly, privately, the narrator requested the nurse to tell him something about those boys. She was eager, meaning interested to do so. She explained, they were quite alone in the world, except for this sister Lucia. Their father, a widower. Widower means a person without a wife. Widower, a well-known singer. He had been killed in the early part of the war. Mind it, my dear students, he was killed in the early part of the war. So for all the situation, war is the consequence. Shortly afterward, a bomb had destroyed their home and thrown these three children into the streets. So a war will throw anyone to the street. They had always known a comfortable and cultured life. Now, do you understand why these two children were very modest? Because they were already leading a cultured and comfortable life. That was the reason. Now, my dear students, this passage says that Lucia had herself been training as a singer. She also wanted to become a singer. And they had suffered horribly from near starvation and exposure to the cold winter because they were thrown to the streets. For months, they had barely meaning nothing. They had barely kept themselves alive in a sort of shelter they built with their own hands amidst meaning among by the rubble meaning broken bricks. Then for 3 years the Germans ruled the city. The boys grew to hate the Germans. When the resistance movement began secretly to form, they were among the first to join. So they had the patriotism also. When the war was over and we had peace at last, so peace comes only when the war is over. Remember, war is always against peace. So at last they came back to their beloved sister and they found her suffering from tuberculosis of the spine. She paused. Who? The nurse paused, took a quick breath. Did they give up? I do not have to answer that question. They brought her here, forced or insisted upon us to take her into the hospital. In the 12 months she has been our patient, she has made a very good progress. There is every hope that one day she will walk and sing again. So the nurse narrated the whole history of those little boys. Now, my dear students, we are almost have come to the end of the story. Of course, everything is so difficult now. Food is so scarce meaning not enough, and dear, we could not keep going unless we charged a fee. But every week, Lucia's brothers have made their payment. So all these things are said by the nurse. She added simply, I don't know what they do. I don't ask. Work is scarce in Verona. So scarce meaning there is not enough work in Verona. But whatever it is, I know they do it well. Yes, I agree. They couldn't do it better. I waited outside until the boys rejoined me and then drove them back to the city. They sat beside me, not speaking. For my part, I did not say a word. I knew they would prefer to feel that they had safely kept their secret. Yet their devotion had touched me deeply. This is the final touch of the story, my dear students. You see, these little boys never wanted to reveal or never wanted other people to take pity on them, but they maintained their honor. So, understanding this, the narrator also wanted to maintain the same honor of that little children. So he did not ask anything about her sister, about their sister. My dear students, through this story, A.J. Cronin wants to insist that war had not broken their spirit. Their selfless action brought a new nobility to human life, gave promise of a greater hope for human society. That's all. And something about the author has been given in the book, and later I will summarize the whole thing in other voice. Come on, let us see something about the poet. The author. Archibald Joseph Cronin was born in 1896 and died in 1981. Was a Scottish novelist, a dramatist, and a physician. Physician meaning a doctor. A doctor by training, Cronin was one of the most renowned means very famous storytellers of the 20th century. Many of his stories have emerged, or derived from his medical career and are noted for their narrative skill. Even in this story, we have seen tuberculosis and all those things. Yeah, come on. Deep social conscience and finely drawn characters. Cronin's books were not only bestsellers, but some of them, such as The Citadel and The Keys of the Kingdom, were made into successful films also and were adapted for radio and television. His novella Country Doctor was adapted for a long running in BBC, radio and TV.